I'm ready.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Chalkboard History. Second take today. I considered throwing my jacket over my shoulder and having a pipe for this episode, but
It's nice with the moonlight.
I don't have a pipe, and I just decided wearing the jacket was silly because I'd have to take it off. But I did notice, thanks to a fellow employee, we have artwork that's been added to the wall. So we have Colonel Emerson Updike wins the battle, the man who won the war in the West. We all know that's true because Updike...
Yeah, right. Updike saves the day.
He woke up, looked in the mirror, and was like, hey, good looking. That's how he started his day. And then you have Josh Lawrence Chamberlain, who's a whole different level of it because he actually ended up being played by Jeff Daniels with the craziest, it's a ZZ Top down, like, it's maybe not that far.
You know, of all the people with
Don't charge uphill, me boy!
I didn't think it was going to make it into 2 episodes, but it did.
But it did. That's what had happened. The Alabama troops.
They charged uphill?
They were charging uphill.
Oh, man.
Yep.
All right, what are we talking about?
I'm still wondering.
Still wondering on Chamberlain. I like the rocks. The rocks are probably my favorite part of it.
I don't know. The guy in the middle, who apparently is Chamberlain, has sort of a green face and like he's got like a half a Sith lightsaber.
Yeah.
And he looks.
It's his bloody sword.
And Christian was a minister.
Yeah.
What?
For youth, you would think that he would draw better.
Oh, it's.
I don't know what the red stuff
I
is
just noticed
either.
Updike's right there. That's pretty funny. All right, what are we talking about today?
What's he saying? Don't worry, I got it. I will stop these rebs. Then into history.
It looks like the Cotton Gin's right there. He's
Yeah.
charging right up the pike. I don't see the Lotes house, though.
Yeah.
It's down the brow of the hill. All right, so anyways, we're going to talk today about...
The brow of the hill.
Don't mess with Texas, baby.
Yes.
Don't mess with Texas. God bless Texas. Davy Crockett, remember the Alamo. Santa Ana, Waylon Jennings.
Hiram Granberry.
Lone Star State. Lukenbach, Texas.
Yes.
Texas Rangers, Nolan Ryan. Houston Astros, Bill Clark. World Series champions.
Chuck Norris.
Is
Walker,
Chuck
Texas
Norris
Ranger.
from Texas?
Walker, Texas Ranger. That counts. That counts.
Fort Hood, now Fort Cavazos.
John Bell Hood.
John Bell Hood. Not from Texas.
Adopted.
I told that to a staff member. She's like, he's not from Texas. I'm like, nope, he's from Kentucky. She said, I'm so confused. I said, I know.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's all right.
He was confused too.
Capital of Texas?
Austin.
George W. Bush is from Texas.
Yeah.
You love some George W. Bush.
I like quotes. He's a funny guy.
You
gotta admit, he's just a funny guy.
I like George Bush way more today than I did a few years ago.
I think everybody does.
Who else is from Texas?
Hiram Granberry.
No, he's from Mississippi.
Okay, well, that's fine, but he led the Texas Brigade.
Okay, that's like Hood. He's not from Texas.
Yeah. No, I'm confused.
Okay, but speaking of Hiram Granberry, who was Hiram Granberry? Hiram Bronson Granberry.
He was a brigade commander in General Patrick Claiborne's division. An actual Irishman, not to be confused with Bobby Lee.
Oh, you mean
a real
Claiborne's an Irishman?
Yeah, an actual Irishman.
So Granberry, born in Mississippi, lived in Waco.
Yep.
Speaking
Waco,
of Texas, whoo, Waco, Texas. David Koresh, CNN, Bill Clinton. Let's blow the place up. There's a lot of history coming on. Lots of coffee. It's a great day. And so Granberry lived in Waco.
Yep, sure did.
He joined the 7th Texas.
Yep. Was with them basically through the entirety of the
Captured at Donelson.
Yep.
Sits in a POW camp with
war. Nat Chairs. John Calvin Brown. Moscow Carter.
There you go. Released.
Randall W. McGavick.
Wife very ill. Gets, I believe, ovarian cancer. Died in 1963. She's buried in Mobile. He, as you said, becomes a brigade commander in Claiborne's division and is with the Army of Tennessee throughout the summer and fall, and then leads his troops into the breach on November 30th, 1864. Killed one of the bodies that was brought to Carnton, laid on the back porch. His brigade suffered horrendous casualties, let's just say probably 50%. Many of his Texans buried today at the McGavock Confederate Cemetery at Carnton. So fast forward to a couple of years ago.
2 years ago? 3 years ago?
About 2 years ago.
There we go.
American Battlefield Trust Conference is in town. Conversation begins to be struck with a man whose name we shall not say today, but important guy, significant donor to a number of important historic projects all over the country, and a man very much appreciative of the history of Texas. So a conversation began about a significant donation to our ongoing reclamation effort. And right paralleling that conversation was one about placing a monument in Franklin to honor the Texas troops. And not just Granberry's guys. Lawrence Ross was a brigade commander in William H. Jackson's division of Forest Cavalry, so Ross commanded Texans, and there was a Texas battery. Douglas's Texas battery was at the battle, so the thought was to remember all of the Texans who fought at the battle. And so fast forward from there to here just a few days ago, the Battle of Franklin Trust, that's us.
It's on the cup.
There you
have
go.
To believe it.
And so we worked with the donor to some degree, but we really worked with folks at the Texas Historical Commission, and they created a wonderful pink granite monument. You see many of these kinds of Texas monuments all over.
They're just about everywhere.
I saw one at pretty sure it was Gaines Mill a few years ago. It was just wonderful. There's one at Winstead Hill in Franklin. And so I was familiar with, the product. Well, anyways, we worked with everybody from the city of Franklin to the Tennessee Historical Commission, the Battle of Franklin Trust Board, the donor, the Texas Historical Commission, and 50 other people in between. And we placed the monument just the other day, which I must say, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've never been part of placing a monument. I was part of, placing a statue in the town square, and that was unique, but this was unique as well.
On a battlefield that's been saved.
On a battlefield that has been saved, that was, covered with...
Where that monument sits, that's where the Holt House was.
It's
correct?
a little north of the Holt House. It really straddles the...
Miller House, Holt House.
Miller House, Holt House. Miller House was built not long after the war. We own that house. But it's really the high water mark for Granberry's Texans. Granberry was killed probably 150 feet from there. His Texans killed, wounded, captured all over that ground. So it's really been wonderful. We will dedicate and unveil the monument on May 13th. We will honor the donor and recognize a number of people who made this a reality. And I just have to say that this is some of the most rewarding work one can do. To just work in this field every day, and then to save ground, to open it up, to find the foundation of the old cotton gin, to find the federal line, to do the archaeological work, and then to place a monument to these soldiers. And I know some people will refer to it as a Confederate monument, and it is. But this is a monument to men who served in Texas regiments. They served...
This is an invitation for Indiana and Ohio and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin to...
It's an invitation for everybody.
Yeah.
It'd be great if Tennessee did it. It'd be great if Mississippi did it. It'd be great if Ohio, Indiana, Illinois did it. But, it's really wonderful to think that these men who served their state and then ultimately, are fighting for the Confederacy. But it takes two sides. And at the Battle of Franklin, these two sides engaged in just horrific combat. And I was telling someone yesterday what I so appreciate about what the Texas Historical Commission did with us is that the monument is about the Battle of Franklin. It is not about the Confederacy. You know, it's not about the glory of the Confederacy, and it's also not about slavery or secession.
Mm-hmm.
It's about these Texas troops, their commanders, and that they fought on that ground on November 30th, 1864. And we're sitting at Rippavilla, where many of those Texans the day before
Fought just to the north of us.
just north of here. Granberry comes close to the pike as the rest of Claiborne's division was engaged, and there were a handful of Texas casualties here, but of course nothing like what happens the next day. So I think it's been wonderful, and I can't wait for people to see it the day after the unveiling, and 10 years from now, and hopefully 100 and 200 years from now. It will still be there, because that kind of something of that composition is meant to last a long time. Thoughts? You got to see it, right?
I've only seen it now that it's covered up.
Oh yes,
Because it was Monday when it was brought in.
It's like a Grammy Award. It's wrapped in paper.
Yeah. I have a generally good idea of what it looks like, though.
Right, but you saw.
But I've seen where it's at. And I've seen your pictures, and I think it is a beautiful marker to the men of Granberry's command that came right there against the 1st Kentucky guns, right there against the 104th Ohio, that little section right across the street from the Carter House. And to think about some of the men that we talk about on battlefield tours, or that we've transcribed their accounts for an upcoming account book. Think about that monument's dedicated to their memory is really incredible.
I even had to remind myself yesterday, as I was just looking through some images, that one of the Confederate flags that was captured at Franklin was from a consolidated Texas unit. And although the colors have faded over time, it's a Hardy Corps flag. And any of you out there, I mean, you know what the Hardy Corps flag was. And so did the federal troops.
Seeing that coming, yeah.
I mean, they'd seen that Hardy Corps flag come over the top of them on more than one occasion. And, I was thinking about Granberry and where so many of the guys who were with him that day, where they had been. My goodness, just in 64, the vicious, awful fighting they were involved in, and in fairness, the Texas units were some of the few in the entire pantheon of the Confederacy who had men who weren't white. There weren't black guys in the ranks. We know the old, that gets into the Black Confederate myth, which we've covered other places. But in the ranks of Granberry's units, you've got Tejanos, you've got genuine Texicans, Mexicans. There's a guy at Carnton. He's one of the craziest stories you could ever tell. Charles Chan.
Yeah, he's Chinese.
He's a Chinese. I describe him as a dissident. He was kicked out for his political beliefs, and somehow he ended up in Texas. And I mean, he's right there. So I mean, Texas was multicultural long before there was really, I think, such a thing. And it was a motley crew, but those Texans, some of those guys were island number 10.
Yeah.
Before Granberry's affiliation. And one last thing, this is really not related to the monument. When Claiborne put forth his petition to arm slaves, that Granberry and his regimental commanders didn't sign that?
Yeah, they walked away.
They were the ones. I mean, I think they felt very strongly on that topic, but when they hit that middle, late on November 30th, just as the sun was going down, what did Leonard Mangum say that Granberry's last words were?
Forward, men, forward.
Forward, men, forward. Never let it be said that Texans lag in a fight. Yep. And he became a casualty along with his other men. So hopefully if you, when you visit, you will take some time to wander across to the east side of Columbia Pike, take in not only the battlefield reclamation successes and understand what happened there, but take a moment with the Texas Monument, which will now and forever be part of the Franklin battlefield. So with that, Professor?
There we go. That's good.
All right. Thanks everybody.